Welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, where feelings aren't felt and snowflakes melt. Buckle up, it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
They painted over ants.
Welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, coming at you live from the Great Pacific Northwest and from the wilds of Tennessee. I'm Big Coop. That's my partner, Russ, over there. How you doing, Russ?
Hello. No one's ever called me Big Russ. I'm like Small Russ, but
yeah. Well, I think it's kind of implied when I call myself Big Coop.
That I'm Small Russ.
And I'm very large, and a lot of that is not something I want. I'll be honest with you, but we're working on it. It's been a busy week in politics, world politics, college football. We were talking before we got on that I enjoyed going to Husky Stadium and watching my Washington Huskies knock off the Utah Utes in a very exciting game on Veterans Day. And I just want to say that the University of Washington did an amazing job honoring veterans that day. I was not expecting
I'm a little surprised given where the university is located.
Yeah, me too. But one thing that I remember telling you this when we worked together, I probably don't remember. The University of Washington has more Medal of Honor winners than any public institution in the United States, by far.
I did not know that.
Not even close. Pappy Boyington being one of you know that name. Baba Black Sheep.
I've watched Black Sheep Squadron.
Yep. Robert Conrad. He was one of the alum that earned that Medal of Honor. But the University of Washington has a rich history with the military, and they did an amazing job. There was a flyover right before the game of P-51 Mustang and some T-38s and some other things like that, World War II vintage aircraft, and that was followed up about 10 minutes later by two F-35s out of Hill Air Force Base, piloted by UW and Utah grads, and that was amazing. It was really cool. They managed to get. I imagine they must have landed on Boeing Field because they got them down there by halftime and honored the dudes that flew over. It was kind of fun to see the guys that flew all those vintage aircraft because they were exactly what you would think: a bunch of fat dudes with mustaches like mine, wearing overalls and looked like they probably had hit the bar right after they went.
Probably did. They're probably about to hit it again.
But I'm sure. No, but they did a wonderful job, and shout out to the University of Washington. I felt very welcomed. I didn't have to buy a damn thing that day. I can tell you, people were, and I'm not one that wears my veteranness out on my sleeve, but if people get into a conversation with me and start talking, I'll talk. And I didn't buy a damn thing that night. It was.
Same. I mean, if someone asks me about it, I'll talk about it. But you've probably seen my Facebook post where I make fun of other veterans who suddenly change their pictures just for Veterans Day as a hey, look at me, love me, you're welcome for my service.
Yeah, you and I disagree on that. I think it's the one day I changed mine to that picture of mine when I was a 25-year-old cav lieutenant. You and I disagree on this. I think it's the one day that we get to just say fuck off. I mean, gay people get a month or two. Everybody gets all that. So veterans, just I let it hang. That's
if you're talking and you're in or you have pictures on there already, I'm fine. It's the insecurity of soliciting the love. It just goes against everything that I've come to believe in terms of selfless service. And some people get so upset about it. I mean, as I'm sure you saw, I draw stuff. There are a lot of veterans on my page who agree with me and laugh along with it, and there's several that take it very, very personal and start to get into pissing matches with me, which I do nothing but draw amusement and strength from. Right.
No, so I God bless you for feeling the way you do. I was talking with my friend about that, you know, I put out a photo every year because it kind of bonds me and some of the folks that I serve with. And that's really what's it about to me. And it's not like, oh, look how cool I am, but it's like, all right, a lot of the brothers that I serve with, brothers and sisters that I serve with, are going to see that, and we're going to bond over it, because I'm not very good at that, you know that. And
well, I mean, my thing is, I don't get me wrong, I bond with my soldiers. I do it in VFWs in Rossville, Illinois. I do it in ballrooms in Nashville, Tennessee, during the Pioneer Independence Fund stuff. Not Pioneer Independence Fund, Operation Resiliency. I do stuff like that. It's the infantry guy in me, just kind of, sneering at some folks. It's just the way I am.
And it's just fine. And like I said, I don't do it for any other reason than what I stated. So it's all good. We have different ways of celebrating that. I can tell you that I usually have a hard time on Veterans Day. I've had some bad days in the past, mentally and emotionally and stuff like that, remembering stuff. But it's not Memorial Day. I get it, but it's still, that stuff still kicks in. I had probably the best the best Veterans Day weekend I've had in a long time. What was nice is being in Seattle is a place that I lived quite a bit in my adult life. And I remember it fondly, and I haven't wanted to go there in years. And I didn't see any of that shit. Went to the game, went to a nice restaurant after the game, stayed in a nice hotel. I didn't see the Avenue. My only problem is there's this stretch, University Avenue, which is like, I don't know, 10 blocks of like bars and food back in the day. It's all ramen noodles and bubble tea now.
Oh God. Is it, a couple of vaping stores?
Oh my God. It used to be like great bars, great places to go and hang out. It's all ramen, bubble tea, and motherfucking teriyaki.
Vaping.
Yeah. So had to catch an Uber for $50 to go downtown to get a decent meal. But did manage to go to Dick's Drive-In, got some Dick's. Gotta love me some Dick's.
How many Dick's did you get?
I got 6 Dick's.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah.
Can you fit them all in your mouth?
Brought a couple home for the coonhound. So
could you fit them all in your mouth? Were they like salty?
So for those of you that don't understand what Dick's Drive-In is in Seattle, it's an institution. Their hamburgers are simple. They got like 4 things on the menu. It's kind of the equivalent to In-N-Out in California, where you don't get a bargain. What you can order like 4 things and that's it. Fuck off. But they're amazing. And so it used to, whenever the Huskies win back in the day, when I had season tickets and I lived in Seattle and was a student there, first thing you do is go gorge yourself on some Dick's, and then you go real drinking, which I didn't do because I'm 53 and I'm old now. But I actually,
and you shouldn't be the one drinking right now,
right? And I will admit, I ordered DoorDash Dick's. I didn't actually go there. I had it delivered, and it took like 2.
Brought Dick's to your door.
That's
awesome.
Right. But it was lovely, and they're just as good as it was back in my days when I was a teen something and going to school there. So had a lot of fun. So let's get started, Russ. I got a couple of videos that I'd like to share with you. Okay. This isn't the main topic of what we're going to be talking about, but let me get down and dirty.
It happens.
It's happened a couple times, but yeah.
Peloton was we just got an update.
It was Peloton
was the people who wanted an ad out. Peloton, and meanwhile you have RFK.
So Peloton, what do they sell? Fucking bikes, the stationary bikes.
Yeah, dude.
Peloton sells stationary bikes, and they got a problem with Robert fucking Kennedy. Fuck you, Peloton. Who the fuck are they?
Yeah, first of all,
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Fucking Peloton bitching about Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, dude, you want to go nowhere?
Who's the CEO of Peloton? I want to see this fucking guy.
I want to see this fucking lamb, dude. Hey, you know what gets you further than Peloton? Hitchhiking. Okay, how about that, dude?
Barry McCarthy.
I don't know if you saw that video.
I saw a different part of that video. First of all, I love Theo Vaughn.
I do too. I love Theo Vaughn too.
And I saw the part where they were talking about folks wanting to take their ads out. They didn't mention the company, but when he was talking to Trump,
right?
And his response was, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I could have like poked in any 60 seconds of that entire interview with Dana White and Theo Von, I wanted to kind of push that because Theo Von actually, for being a pretend, he's kind of like Larry the Cable Guy. He has this kind of pretend character, like he's a stupid white trash dude from Louisiana, which he is actually a stupid white trash dude from Louisiana. But he's also very funny and very insightful, and he gets great guests on. And you got Robert Kennedy, and I watched that video when he got him on. And then this one, the reason I wanted to put that up is because I fucking love Dana White, dude. I just fucking
I was gonna say, I love me some Dana White. He doesn't mince words. He is straight up, 100%, male.
Yes, he is, and he makes no apologies. And that's kind of typical for him. And then I watched that, and that was I think that podcast came out yesterday, and I already see all over the internet it's blown up that basically Peloton is fucked because Dana White said what he said, and Peloton's their stock went down today.
Really?
Yes. No, and this shows you the power of what happens when. So the background to that we didn't talk about is that when Theo Von had Robert Kennedy on, Peloton was one of his advertisers, and Peloton's CEO contacted him and said, "Hey, you need to pull that down, or we're not gonna support that one." RFK Jr. You can think what you want to about him. I have my thoughts too. There's some things I like. There's some things I despise about the guy, but I think he's a dude. I bet you I would love to be in the same room with him and have a conversation and hang out with him. I bet you that's true about him. And the fact that a shit company would try to pull their sponsorship from a podcast, how arrogant are you? And then it went on a lot further than that. Dana White is basically, he actually brought his COO in the room right after that and said, "Do we have any Peloton bikes in the gym here?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Throw them all in the trash, all of them. We're getting rid of all." And he was serious. He was fucking serious. You don't think like somebody that Dana White that influences a lot of people is going to have a big impact on you? He happened to be on Theo Von's podcast, who's, everybody thinks, oh, he's a goofball. He's a comedian. You have somebody serious on, you make that connection, and boom. The reason I wanted to put that on the podcast is that's how power happens. That's how real power happens.
Yeah, well, and this is what a lot of the wokester company's been doing for years, is trying to come down on folks. Say, well, we'll pull our advertising dollars. Like, well, dude's got a podcast that's pretty popular. I'm pretty sure you can find other advertisers, even if they're just off the wall things, and he's going to get a lot more views by telling you to go get bent than he's going to lose from a wokester community that doesn't listen to him anyway. I don't know if you saw, This was, I guess, a couple months ago when that reporter tried to bait Dana White into the racial issue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we played it. We played it on the podcast, bud.
Yeah. Okay. I just couldn't remember it. And I loved it when White was like, who gives a shit? He does not, he's got so much fuck you money. He does not care. I admire people like that a lot. Even if I get into a pissing match with him, that's the kind of guy you have a throwdown with, and then later you're going to the bar buying each other beers. That's
he's
an awesome
he's an actual man too. He's an actual tough guy. He's a tough guy that employs tough guys, so he gets it.
Yeah, I would not want to get into a tiff with him, whether it's over advertising dollars or in an alley somewhere, because he would beat the fuck out of me.
He held out. He had 9% share. I remember this very well. I don't know why that my crystal brain is pondering this, but he had a 9% share in the UFC and sold it for $4 billion back in 2016. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna retire. I'm good. And he's in his young 40s at the time.
Oh yeah.
But the company that bought it from him said, could you please stay on as president and CEO because you're that good at what you do? And I'm sure his salary is astronomical,
more than I'll ever see.
Yeah. And no, I respect the fuck out of the guy. I don't have to like him all the time and all the things he does and says, but respect. Fuck yeah, he's a man's man. He's an absolute man's man. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to play that because that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You say fuck you, you know. And so if you watch that podcast with Theo Von keeps going, wow, you really inspired me. You really inspired me. He keeps going on and on and on, going, yeah, you're right. And Dana White talks about aligning your principles to the people that support you. That's more important than anything. And yeah, no, I thought that was an amazing thing. So let's get into our next video before we get into our other stuff. Let's see. We got a video here. Russ,
those who can't see this, Coop is sporting the Sam Elliott mustache right now. So
I am. Sure, I talk like this, Russ.
Only if you want me to make fun of you.
When is this going to stop? When are my Republican colleagues going to put up or shut up? One thing. I want my Republican colleagues to give me one thing, one, that I can go campaign on and say we did. One. Anybody sitting in the complex, if you want to come down to the floor and come explain to me one material, meaningful, significant thing the Republican majority has done.
That's kind of random. I wanted to throw that at you, but my favorite representative now used to be Mr. Crenshaw, the Navy SEAL, but we're not hearing from him lately. Chip Roy tells it like it is. And we've talked about this a lot over the last few podcasts, that the Republicans are cowards and they're not doing anything. And if they want to start winning elections, which we just got our asses handed to us again here in November in a lot of the local elections, then they need to stand for something. And he's right. I didn't really think about it until I heard that. That's just a snippet of his speech. It was like 3 minutes of raining fucking hell. I got to hand it to Chip Roy. He's right. He's absolutely correct. You got to do something. You got to stand for something. You got to show something.
I'm going to have a slightly different take on this. First of all, I do like Chip Roy. Crenshaw's still my favorite. The issue comes down, well, it's multiple issues. I'll get to the election thing in a second. Republicans, yes, need to stand for something, and they should. They got a very fractious caucus. Some of the more let's not compromise folks also need to remember that they have like an 8-seat majority in one part of the government that is not going to get anything passed through a Democratic Senate and over a presidential veto. What you got to do is you got to put the Democrats on the defensive, offer up the stuff that is popular, such as the border security, which I admit they have not done that. But you got to offer up the stuff that puts Democrats on the defensive and make them vote against it. And I think that, and this is going to be unpopular when I say this. I think McCarthy got some of that out of the debt ceiling fight, not as much as maybe we would have liked, but I think he got some of it. But then he got shit on by Matt Gaetz and others for not holding the line on everything. These are people who don't understand how representative democracy works. Now, regarding the elections, I think there were a couple of things that worked against the Republicans in the election. The first was, I'm pro-life. But Republicans have to understand where it is on pro-life and not try and go, balls to the wall, right away, because, the country is not going to do, a no abortion anywhere. They're not even going to do a 6-week ban most places. So the Democrats are able to frighten people who are still in the mushy middle, and Republicans got to do a better job persuading them before they start banging them over the head with the issue. And that cost us in Virginia. That cost us in Ohio. Next thing, Republicans need to learn to stop putting crazy people on the ballot. Okay, they tend to do that a lot. It's one of the reasons they lost 2022, which they shouldn't have done. They put some crazy people.
The problem is that they see that Democrats can put crazy people on the ballot and win, but the left will vote for anybody that has a D behind their name.
They'll do that, and the Democrats have.
Trust me, I'm in Washington State. We have some of the most incompetent fucking freaky ass motherfuckers up here that are in the governorship and the Seattle Council and all of that they shouldn't be allowed to breathe, but they got a D behind their name.
I get that, but Republicans need to understand there's a structural advantage for Democrats, probably worth 10 points at the polls, based on media coverage and systemic stuff. But whining about it, crying about it, is not going to get Republicans elected. You have to be more sane as a result. You don't nominate, Herschel Walker on a platform of family values and then see that he's gone out and fathered a couple of kids out, a kid or two out of wedlock. I don't remember the exact number.
Right. No, I get you.
You don't put up, Kerry Lake in Arizona, who's now going to run for Senate again and is probably going to blow one of those winnable seats in the next Senate's election. The Republicans have got to stop they've got to stop trying to out crazy the Democrats, because first of all, you're not going to out crazy them. And second, people are going to say, well, if I'm going to vote for crazy, then I'm going to go for the genuine article over here that's got a D, and maybe I can get them out when you Republicans get your shit together. Because the Republicans, the problem, one of the problems is, and people are going to disagree with me on this too, they've got to find a way to dissociate themselves from Donald Trump. I understand Trump is very popular with the base, and he's going to win the nomination, running away. I wish that wasn't the case, but it's going to happen. However, you can't win an election with the base. Trump has lost 5 out of the last 6 elections. All right. He won in 2016. He lost in 2018. He lost in 2020. He lost the Georgia runoff in 2021. They lost the red ripple in 2022, and they just lost Virginia and Ohio here in 2023. I don't know how Ronna Romney McDaniels, the chairwoman of the RNC, still has a job.
No, it's insane.
A football coach.
That's insane.
Yeah, a football coach that had this kind of a losing record loses his job like immediately. The fact that she's
the Tyrone Willingham of college football right there. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And it took him 3 years to get fired at University of Washington after going 0-12.
Yeah, and look, the election was also a mixed bag in terms of Republicans lost because of some Trumpy candidates, but Trump is able to point to losing in Virginia and not take the blame because he can put it all on Glenn Youngkin and probably keep Youngkin out of the presidential race. Youngkin doesn't need to be part of the race until 2028 anyway. But Trump he's got this stranglehold over people. And I know there's some parts of that we're going to talk about later when it comes to some more isolationist, drawing on yourself Republicans, going away from the legacy of Reagan. And look, independents and suburban women don't like him. I'm sorry. It'd be great if they did, maybe, but they don't. So you got to understand, you can't just impose yourself in a federal republic, in a representative democracy. That's not how this works. You have to actually convince enough people to vote for you. And real quick, let me say this for all you morons in the audience that are saying, well, the vote's rigged, and yeah, I know I'm losing those people now. I don't give a shit. The vote's rigged, and we can't win anyway. Well, you know what? If the vote's that rigged, then go pick up a rifle and start a revolution. Shut the fuck up, okay? I'm tired of hearing this. Hey, it's rigged, and we're just going to sit here and bitch about it. Either it's not rigged and we lost, or it's so rigged that the only option to getting back is revolution. Pick a fucking side, or shut the hell up.
You said a lot. I don't know that I want to dissect any of that, actually. I get your feeling. I get your verve on that. I have said often, without wanting to create any type of movement or any type of action, that we are in a time where good men need to act, and it's not just bitching, and it's not just vitriol, and it's not just sitting back on our heels going, oh, look, the left has taken over this country completely. It's not even close at this point. And it's
I do hard. Think there's some where we have sane conservative leaders. We do have the right ascendant in Tennessee, in Florida, in Texas, where the right puts forward people that are not crazy, they win. Because look, I know that the left is a very loud voice. They shriek like harpies and they make a lot of noise. But far left policies are not popular in the country. That's how Glenn Youngkin got elected in the first place in Virginia. was by opposing far left policies on education. So if the Republicans would just, recognize some level of sanity and not Christine O'Donnell this thing. Do you know who Christine O'Donnell is?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. If they would stop being, witchcraft crazy and in some of this, then they maybe could take some stuff back, but they seem like they're pissed off the Democrats have out crazy them and they want to get back.
I agree. And when you got like the whole thing, the whole drama over the speaker issue of the House, Matt Gaetz, and you got guys like that. You know what? I don't even disagree with Matt Gaetz on a lot of stuff, but he's a fucking douchebag.
Yeah.
He's a fucking douchebag. And I don't think he has the country's best interest at heart. I think he's got Matt Gaetz' best interest at heart.
I agree completely. I call him ass face.
Yeah, no. And it's just like, that whole look that he has on his face all the time. Like when he's talking,
it looks like he's got something. It looks like he's got something underneath his nose.
No, he looks like he's getting a thumb up his butt from a fucking bus driver. I don't know why I said that, but it seems accurate.
That's actually probably pretty accurate.
And you got some good dudes in there. Like I don't know a lot about this conservative Christian guy that's the Speaker of the House. Never knew what his name was in before, but would Jim Jordan be a better one? Fuck yes. With his experience and his vitriol and I don't know, his intellectualism, the Republicans are losing ground every day, brother. And this is the most vulnerable time that the Democrats have ever been in, because you have literally the worst president in the United States that's ever existed.
I don't know if he's the worst president ever. I have said he's the worst president of my lifetime. I'd have
I think he's the worst ever.
I'd have trouble ranking him below Woodrow Wilson or James Buchanan.
No, I don't. I think those guys were monsters compared to this fucking fuck. And
I do think he's the worst president of my lifetime, and I lived through Jimmy Carter.
The fact that you can't take advantage of this right now and you can't get united behind a message right now, okay, so you're losing some states over abortion rights. You are going to do that. That was a natural evolution of what came out of the Supreme Court. We all knew that was going to happen. States are going to go what the states want to do. That's a culture of certain parts of the country. There's literally nothing you can do about that. And you know what? I'm okay with it, bro, because that's the republic that I grew up in. States are supposed to. That's the whole dismantling of Roe versus Wade. Put it on the states. Let them vote. Let them figure it out. Do I agree with it? Do I agree with Ohio? Do I agree with it? No, God, no. I think it's disgusting. I am on record for saying that the whole, my body, my choice thing is a specious argument of stupidity and fucking politics. It has nothing to do with biology or spirituality or anything good. It has nothing to do with that, because we are not allowed to do whatever we want with our bodies in the world. We're not allowed to do that. Otherwise, prostitution would be legal in all 50 states. I know that's
also a matter of the fact that there's your body and then there's another whole separate body.
Well, I didn't even get to that. It's not your body once there's another body in there. That's not a religious belief even. Of course it is my spiritual belief, but it's a biological reality. So it leaves that whole thing out. So, all right, I get to murder children. I'm sorry. I guess I'm finally making my whole thing on abortion known. Finally, at the 11th hour of the podcast. But here's the thing. If it's a viable child and you abort it, you're committing murder. That is what I believe. That is what I believe in my whole heart and soul. A viable child is, I'm willing to listen to different interpretations of that. I, being a fan of the Catholic Church, don't necessarily believe that conception is that issue, but I certainly think it's very early in that whole lineage. And having been somebody that could have had a child and didn't have a choice in having that child, it's very personal to me.
Yeah, well, I gotta
let my dog in. Go ahead.
Where I take a slightly different tack from you is, I think Republicans need to not push as hard as fast in areas they don't have support, like Ohio, like Virginia, where you can get certain things on record. You go where you can. But where, Coop, you and I disagree, and I go further right, is I do think the line is at conception. I think if you start drawing lines anywhere besides conception, then you come up with exceptions that can be applied to anyone of any age. Once conception occurs, it is a separate being with unique DNA that the Earth has never seen before. So I do believe it is a unique individual at that point. When folks say viability, 100 years ago, viability was around 33 weeks. Now they've had children who have survived, who've been born just over 21 weeks. So my question to folks is, if you say that abortion should be allowed up to the point of viability, if medical science can push viability back to the point of conception, would you then agree that abortion should be banned across the board? Because if you are, then you're drawing an arbitrary line based on physical maturity. That's all it is. It's physical maturity. It's got nothing to do with, whether a child is actually a child or not. Because a child that is 2 days old is not as physically mature as a child who's 2 years old, who's not as physically mature as a child who's 20 years old. But you're not allowed to, just simply because somebody has not traveled down the birth canal does not, abridge their human rights. But I still think Republicans need to be smart about how they do this, and they can't let Democrats define the issue. And they've let Democrats define the issue for 50 years. And so they need to get, more out front. They need to get better messaging. They need to, I'm still a big fan of incrementalism when it comes to this kind of stuff, because I think that, total bans are going to draw an automatic snapback response that is going to do what it did in Ohio, which is permanently enshrine abortion into the Ohio Constitution. I don't think that was necessary. You didn't have to push that hard. The state is not, that's not Alabama. Okay. That's not even Florida. There's different stuff there. And you take, it's in a way, it's the gun control strategy, except for abortion. You take the wins you can get, gradually pushing towards your goal. Because that's what gun control is doing. They're taking little stuff here and there, trying to gradually push towards their goal. And some of them have the patience for it, some of them don't, but that's the only way they're getting anywhere. And it's the only way the pro-life movement's going to get anywhere on abortion, especially in states that don't agree with it.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. And I apologize to our video listeners. I had to let my 13-year-old coonhound in. He had enough being downstairs, apparently. But I heard every word you said, and it's a tough one for me. I hate to see the defeats that we've seen, but I understand it, because I honestly think that most 90% of people are fairly reasonable about the abortion issue. There's people that are on the far side where, after conception, boom, and there's no reason to ever abort a soul. And then there's the people that say, well, rape and blah, 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 which is a tiny, 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 tiny percent of abortions, or up to a certain amount of weeks or something like that. But I think there's something fair that could be struck here, but it's such an emotional issue that I think we're far beyond that. I
think it's been plied into an emotional issue. It's been ingrained into our consciousness.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how emotional it would be as an issue if it hadn't been that ingrained. And what I mean by that is the whole "my body, my choice" thing. Basically,
which is 100% horse shit, and I just want to come out in rejection of that entire theory. I'm sorry, 100% horse shit.
It's basically a lie, not a lie. It's an exhortation to, hey, go fuck as many people as you want, and not have to take responsibility for it. That's exactly what it is. Because when it comes to life of the mother,
it's 100%
medical viability, life of the mother, medical viability, and rape and incest account for less than 3.5% of all abortions. The other 96.5% are all done for reasons of birth control, or because you want to go out and fuck something and not have to worry about it. There's another comedian out there whose name escapes me, but I know you would recognize him if you saw him, who does a bit on how he agrees with the feminists, and how he believes it's the woman's choice, and he talks about how he agrees with the feminists. They're all like, release, free the nipple, and he's like, yes. Like, we should be able to fuck anybody we want. Absolutely. And abort the child so we don't have to pay for it. So, and then he talks about how, I believe it's your choice. The woman should have the full choice over abortion. Because when we get up to heaven and God says, hey, what about all these babies you aborted? I'm going to say, I didn't have a choice in that. Talk to the women.
Interesting. I don't know who that is, but that's an interesting take on it.
You would recognize the comedian if you saw him. I can't remember his name for the life of me. He's been on Joe Rogan a few times. I've seen him with Theo Vaughn a couple of times.
Okay.
I'll find him in your name.
Let's get into another topic before we close out tonight. I have a paper due by 9:00. I don't know that I'm going to make that deadline. I don't know.
Well, shit, if you told me that, dude, we could have delayed it.
No, it's all good. You know what? Fuck it. You know me. I'll pretend I read everything and pull up a few sources and cite a few references, and I'll be just fine. Let's talk about Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro. I watched just as a little background. I watched her entire dalliance with what's his name, Bill
Tucker Carlson.
No. Why am I having a hard time right now? Bill, a smarmy guy with glasses, the liberal that sounds like a conservative sometimes.
Bill Maher.
I watched her entire interview with Bill Maher, and I thought it was fascinating. Watched that a few days ago, and then I didn't realize that her and her boss got in a tiff. So I did not get. I read it. You sent me the text, and I got into it a little bit and saw what they were getting to. So could you give us the details behind this tiff between Candace Owens and your hero?
Well, hey, everybody, this is Coop, the handsome and debonair one of the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast. Not to mention I'm the only one that's an actual bastard. Google that shit. Don't, actually. Hey, I'm here to do a shameless plug for our merchandise. You can find us at twogrumpybastardsmerchandise.com. We got a whole bunch of new merchandise in. I think you'll like some of the new choices. There's some pro-Second Amendment. There's some anti-Washington State Governor stuff on there. I think you'll really appreciate it. New stuff coming all the time. I have 2 great designs in the works, so please, to support this podcast, that's one of the easiest ways to do it. We're also on Etsy. Yeah, I know, Etsy. You can find our products on eBay as well. Storm King Mercantile is the name of the store there that fronts us. And there's many, many other ways to support this podcast, of course. We have a Patreon page, same thing, Two Grumpy Bastards. We certainly would appreciate you following us on Instagram. Most of you probably know we have a Facebook page, Two Grumpy Bastards Podcast. We have a lot of fun over there, a lot of frivolity, a lot of memes, and a lot of hard-hitting news. Believe it or not, a lot of great people in that group. Also, all of the social media outlets, including now on TikTok. You can find us there. And one of the things that I really wanted to tell you is if you have any feedback for Russ, especially because he kind of sucks, feel free to email us at twogrumpybastards@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of us, or you can always leave us a comment or an IM on, or DM, I should say. See, I'm so savvy. On our Facebook page. So we really appreciate you listening or watching us over there on YouTube as well. And we hope you do both, because Russ is something to look at. I said something. I didn't say something really great to look at. Anyway, thanks for listening. This is your intrepid, amazing, and grateful host of the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, Coop. Remember, keep your focus and stay wokeless.
Mike Shapiro? Yeah. Well, all right. I actually have a dual track tape on this, and I'm not sure which one is correct, but I'll go with the surface level take first. Okay, Candace Owens, for those who don't know, she's a conservative who is almost isolationist conservative.
Important to note that she's a black female. That's important to note, actually.
She was and she's very anti-vaccine, and I don't just mean the anti-COVID vaccine. If I remember correctly, she's like doesn't believe in vaccines like at all. So she and Shapiro have disagreed on that, but she's also disagreed on the issue with Israel and Hamas. She comes at it from, we shouldn't be over there doing anything, we shouldn't be supporting anything, and then she started talking about how I think she started talking something about genocide is never right, which I get, but Israel's not conducting a genocide. If the Palestinian population is more than tripled in the last 75 years, and so if this is a genocide, Israel's really bad at it. Israel has complete air supremacy. If they wanted to flatten Gaza, they could do it. They've got a nuclear weapons arsenal. They could wipe out the folks at Gaza if they wanted to, and they're not doing that. And so Candace Owens has been coming down hard on Israel about stuff. And Ben Shapiro was at an event, a private event, and someone videoed him, and somebody asked him about what he thought of what Candace was saying and doing. And he said, I think what Candace's conduct has been disgraceful. That got back to Candace. And then she basically subtweeted him. She put up, after she heard it, she put up some, bullshit scripture quote about blessed are the peacemakers. And I get it, but first of all, when she puts that up, and everybody knows what she's doing, she can feign, I was just putting up Bible scripture. Bullshit, Candace. You knew exactly what the hell you were doing.
You're taking a shot at the Orthodox Jew.
Yeah, you're going after your boss. Be honest about that. Don't hide behind this bullshit. That's what liberals do. Be open with what you're doing. Her scripture quote, she doesn't want peace. She wants to be spared war, as if the absence of war was the same as peace. It's not. True peace is not just the absence of conflict. It's the presence of justice. And she doesn't seem to understand that.
Right.
And then when she put on there how you can't serve God and money at the same time, which has a slight tinge of anti-Semitism if it's aimed at Shapiro.
A little bit. That's how I took it too.
Yeah.
And just to let the listeners know, when you sent that to me, I didn't know this was going on. So I came at it from a completely, I'm not a huge Ben Shapiro fan. I do appreciate him. I think you're a bigger fan of him than I am. That's just my take.
You're probably right. You're right.
And it doesn't mean I don't appreciate him. Of course I do. And Candace Owens is somebody that I've listened to a lot. I have my opinions on Candace Owens that I will share once you're done with this. But I thought that throwing the Bible quote up there thing, that was kind of sketch to me. That was and I guess it's leading to what I'm gonna say about my conclusion in all this. And I would never take Ben Shapiro's side purposely on anything. That was weird. That was weird how she did that. Yeah. I thought that was unprofessional, to be quite honest with you. That's how I would. And then, I thought it was unprofessional.
Yeah, and I'll get to she kept doubling down on this. She went on Tucker Carlson. I think Tucker has kind of gone a little bit off the deep end on some, especially foreign policy issues and some domestic issues.
Yeah, and remind me to talk about libertarianism here too.
Will do.
Thank you.
But when she quoted that, Shapiro, I kind of wish they'd been able to keep this tiff, private, because it's like watching, two of your friends fight it out. But Shapiro went back on Twitter. Shapiro went back on Twitter and said, "Hey, Candace, if you think money's getting in the way, if you think the money that you take from Daily Wire is getting in the way of, you being close to God, then quit." And she goes off.
That's almost exactly what he said.
Emotional, and I'm like, he called you out.
Exactly what he said.
Yeah, he called you out. You tried to be passive aggressive, which is weird. I didn't expect Candace to try to go all passive aggressive on this, but that's exactly what that was. And so Shapiro called her out. Now, does that mean that Candace Owens is going to leave the Daily Wire? I have no idea. I don't think so. Shapiro owns part of the Daily Wire, but he doesn't run the day-to-day business of it anymore. That belongs to Jeremy Boring and I can't remember the other guy's name. There's a non-air personality that's been one of the co-owners of Daily Wire for a while. You can't remember who it was.
but we let's be honest. We know who pushes the buttons. Ben Shapiro is the guy who calls the shots over there. He's a shot caller.
He might. I don't know if it's going to lead to Candace leaving.
Because Jeremy Boring and he are hooked at the fucking heels. And
but there's somebody else that's there. I just can't remember his name. But anyway, I don't know if she's going to leave, but I do agree that, you know, there's this. Yeah, the left has been the ones that have been mostly, you know, pro Hamas and not wanting to, you know, they've been more pro Hamas. Folks on the right, they've been more isolationist, as if Hamas didn't kill more than 30 Americans. It still has like a dozen or so that are held hostage in Gaza.
Right.
This sudden, I get not wanting to go in everywhere all the time. I completely understand that. We need to be judicious with how we spend the nation's treasure and the lives of our citizens.
Of course,
but this antipathy almost to any kind of conflict is
look, it's weak. It's weak.
Yeah, it makes us look like scared little pussies. Is what it makes them look. Is what makes Tucker and others, they look like scared little pussies by being so skittish about any kind of conflict that they have a reflexive opposition.
I completely agree with you on that, and I get a lot of shit from my supposed, because I comport myself to be a libertarian, and well, that means we should never intervene in a. Are you fucking out of your goddamn mind? If this is going to affect the world, listen, we're the most powerful country in the world. We are, and it's not even close. Most influential after 243 years of whatever existing, we rule the world. We do. So with that comes responsibility. I might be a libertarian, but goddamn, I am not a non-interventionist. I think Tucker, I think Matt Walsh, I think all these people that say we should never be involved in things outside our borders, you're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot if you think that. And I'll say that right now to all you motherfuckers out there that think you should never intervene, because things that happen outside our borders do affect our borders. They affect our shit. Russ and I are two examples of people that had to go outside our borders and affect things outside our borders because of what we didn't want to happen inside our borders. You can say all the junk you want about George W. Bush. You can say all about him, but he's right. You take the fight away from our borders so we don't have to fight in our borders. He was right in that doctrine. I am sorry. Fuck you. If you don't believe me, study history. Study history.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ross.
Well, I think two things. First of all, you made the point I was going to make about, hey, I would rather fight somewhere that's not America. We need to fight outside the border so we don't see the destruction here. The second thing is, you can try and withdraw from the world all you want, but if you create a power vacuum, it will get filled. Whether you want it to or not, it'll get filled, and it'll probably get filled by somebody you don't like. The
like
power
China?
Vacuum
China or Russia?
Yep, China especially. China's really trying to become a surging beast in the world. And if we withdraw from the world, they will fill that power vacuum. That would not end well for us, because you got to remember, most of the stuff that we buy in the United States is not built in the United States. Most of the resources we get don't come from the United States. Okay, a lot of the telecommunications networks now, like the 5G stuff, is not based in the United States. We need this stuff for our economy now. We can't just withdraw in on ourselves. Even if we said, you know what, we've got the resources and we've got the food and everything to sustain ourselves, the transition to that would take 15 years. All right, and you're going to look at a massive depression inside the United States during that time. So the last time we withdrew from the world was prior to World War II. How did that turn out for us? Okay, it does not go well when the United States withdraws from the world, because other people will want to be that king of the hill. And I get it. I get the urge to just be left alone. Unfortunately, we have to live in the real world, and the real world won't let us do that. So stop being such a skittish fucking pussy and understand that sometimes you got to wait out and get your hands dirty. And that means, oh, by the way, supporting our friends. I mean, do you abandon friends who get into a fight just because you didn't want to get involved? And oh, by the way, you folks are out there like, we shouldn't get involved. Your only involvement is watching the thing on fucking TV. Okay, I don't want to hear shit about you getting involved or how tired you are of war. You haven't gone to war. You haven't done shit about war. You're tired of watching it. You're tired of hearing about it. So stop your fucking bitching. All right, you're not going to war. You're not doing anything like that. By the way, the only way we would get involved is if Hezbollah and Iran expanded the conflict we're not going to go over there and fight Hamas. The IDF is doing just fine fighting Hamas. They're kicking their ass right now, and they should. And the only reason Hamas wants a ceasefire is because they're getting their ass kicked.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I hear you.
All right, I'll cut that out. The IDF has been training for this their entire existence. It's what they do. It's what they're good at, and they'll look. Hamas doesn't have a fucking chance against the IDF. I work with Israelis overseas. I think did you have some interaction with the
Very
Israeli?
brief, not much of substance.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, no more professional military than the Israelis, and they were awesome. And when I found out a few years ago that I had the blood of the tribe in my veins, I was more than proud to represent that. And look, they'll finish this. They'll finish it.
Yep.
I mean, they don't need our help in finishing it.
You can hear the words "never again" in everything they do.
That's right. Never again. Never again. I'd love to be over there helping them finish this. Fuck Palestine. I'm just gonna say this on the podcast. Fuck Palestine. Fuck it all. Fuck all those people that
It's a made up word for that area anyway. That's a takeoff on the word Philistine.
Exactly.
It was imposed by the Roman Empire as an insult following the Jewish rebellion of 136 AD, and folks don't know that.
Thank you. I was going to pull up my biblical shit, but you just beat me to it.
That's what I do.
It's what you do. Fuck Palestine. It doesn't exist. That graphic I put up on the Facebook page, the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast Facebook page, that shows that Israel enjoys 0.04% of the geographical dominance of that area based on all the Muslim and Islam countries around it. Fuck off. Just fuck off. If you can't figure this out on your own by now, and you can't figure out who the good guy is here, then you're insane. And you're a Nazi. You're a Nazi.
Did you see?
But I believe that.
A couple things real quick. First, did you see Shapiro engage at Oxford? A lot of these folks that he's taking questions from, they're all like, "Free Palestine," and he's like, "So what does that mean? Does that mean from the river to the sea?" And they're like, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay, thank you for at least saying out loud."
I did. We talked about that. We talked about that two podcasts ago.
And then
I supposedly I'm the one with the brain injury, but I remember these things.
Okay, I don't remember it. Okay, but
it's all good. It's all good.
So
making fun.
There was that, and then I don't know if you've seen this trend that was happening recently of some of these dumbass TikTok influencers with the Osama bin Laden letter to America.
Oh yeah. I was going to make that a major point of this podcast, but I let it go because I kind of wanted to talk about the Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro thing. Yeah.
I'll just real briefly touch on it. The Guardian in the UK printed Osama bin Laden's 1997 letter to America, and a lot of these TikTok influencers, a lot of whom were not even alive during 9/11, like, you know what, he's shaking up my worldview. He's making good points. So basically, they're supporting Osama bin Laden's terrorism. Hey, you know what? If they're into Osama bin Laden, I got this, mustachioed artist from a long time ago, a vegetarian. He had some similar ideas. Maybe you should go check him out.
Yeah, it's insane. Oh my God. Yeah, I totally heard that entire thing, and I can't believe that anybody would take that seriously. Here's my stance against the imperialist of America. And he lays it out, and there's nothing in it that is even cogent, logical, or anything else. But it's like, no, we kind of deserve it, dude. We kind of
go over there and enjoy. Go over there and enjoy. Put the burqa on. See what it's really like under such a thing. Just put your money where your mouth is.
All my gay friends who think that it's who think they're pro-Palestine, please travel over there and see what they do to you.
Yeah, it will not be pretty.
No, you'd be dead in an instant. Unlike this country, which gives you a month, and it gives vets like us a day. Just fucking sad. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously.
Did you want to say anything else about Candace Owens? Because I mean, I know you said you were going to share some thoughts on it.
I am not on her side in this debate. I'm not on her side in this debate.
Did you see what she tried to say about Jerusalem on her podcast?
I did. And I'm going to say something controversial about Candace Owens. Are you ready?
Sure.
If she wasn't a black woman who's a conservative, she wouldn't be getting any grist, because I don't think she's that talented. I just don't. I don't. I've watched all of her stuff. I listened to her stuff. I don't think I think she did well against Bill and all that kind of thing, but I'm kind of wondering why she's biting the hand that feeds her.
I don't know. I do think she has gotten, there's been some stuff Candace has done that I've liked. The convicting a murderer thing was good.
I didn't watch it, to be quite honest.
She's had some moments on stage, but she's completely wrong here. For those who don't know about what she was saying about Jerusalem, she was trying to say that the Israelis had confined Muslims to the Muslim quarter of Jerusalem, which is absolute bullshit. It just happens to be a part of the city where a lot of Muslims live. They're not confined there. There's an Armenian quarter, a Christian quarter, a Jewish quarter, and a Muslim quarter. That's happened in a lot of cities worldwide. No one's confined there. She got called out on her own podcast for that bullshit. I think I don't think she has as commanding a grasp of the situation as she wants everybody to think she does. And again, trying to go after this passive aggressive going after your boss with scripture thing, I don't get that. Just you always pride yourself on being upfront and honest. Well, tell them, be upfront and honest. Don't just subtweet.
Oh, right. Look, I get where she was coming from. I think I'm mind reading here, that Shapiro has been very, very militant about his views on what has happened there in Israel and the Gaza, and he's not wavering at all. And
that's correct.
He's not wavering at all. I mean, it's like pro-Israel, pro this, destroy Hamas. I mean, he's into it, and I
agree with him 100% on this too.
Well, I do too, based on historical world events and based on everything else that Jews have to face. And he's taking this very personally, obviously.
He's an Orthodox Jew that has family in the area too.
Right. And I think she probably should have backed off that a little bit. And went, Ben's got skin in the game, and I don't. I'm an African-American female who has enjoyed, a salary of millions of dollars based on the fact that I'm conservative and all that kind of thing. Otherwise, nobody would listen to me, because her message is not new. There's nothing that she delivers that's like, oh, that's stunning, that's amazing, that's that's so new. It's not like the rest of the bunch there. I think she's the weak link over there. Like Matt Walsh, I disagree with him a lot, dude. He's so far right.
I haven't listened to Matt Walsh very much, not recently anyway.
But his take on the LBDTQ, whatever, fuck, I didn't get that right. And their assault on American values, 100% behind. 100% behind. I hate his views on mental health. He thinks it doesn't exist. He thinks that people aren't crazy and that you should just fucking suck it up and drive on and move out.